When Rahul and Modi met. Welcome and Vanakkam. If anyone asks me what is the most memorable visual, or if you like, the most memorable moment in the recently concluded session of the Parliament, the main business was to express gratitude for the presidential address to the joint sitting of the Parliament. I would unhesitatingly say it's a moment when Rahul and Modi shook hands. When that contact happened, I experienced some kind of a tremor, something like a minor earthquake within me. It is like two different entities coming into contact. It is like two different order of realities coming into contact. I remember reading in a book by Lytton Strachey, I think it's his book on Queen Victoria, where he describes Queen Victoria extending her hand to touch the hand of a young person. And you know, it is not a common thing for the Queen of England in those days to shake hands with anyone. So she was quite advanced in age. It was a young person. And Lytton Strachey writes, two ages met and quarreled. Two ages met and quarreled. These words remain very, very clear in my memory, though I've forgotten everything about the rest of the book. Those words actually came flying into my memory when this happened. Rahul and Modi shaking hands. Two contrary realities met. Did they quarrel? Well, I leave that to you. Subsequent speeches will answer that question. Now, I have since then been trying to figure out as to what is this particular feeling, this tremor, if you like, which this spectacle activated or created in my mind. After all, it's a common sight to see two people shaking hands. There's nothing unusual about it as such. But when these two personages shook hands in the Parliament with the Speaker of the Indian Parliament standing next to them as some kind of an apologetic witness to this event, it assumes some kind of epic proportion. So my attempt here is to try and lead you into my understanding of the epic proportions of this shaking of hands. And I'm pretty sure that you'll find it fascinating. Now, the very first thing I felt that this is the coming together of two completely different order of realities. In literature, it is something like a metaphysical conceit. Now, I'll very briefly explain what metaphysical conceit is. This is the concept that T.S. Eliot used to describe the peculiarity of the poetry of John Donne. Don't worry about John Donne or T.S. Eliot and all that. What it means is the yoking together by violence of contraries. Two completely different things are yoked together, pulled together, almost by pardon me. Please forgive me. An old man's throat, much abused throat, speaking. Looking back, I wonder how I could manage to do all this talking and how, in spite of all that, my two humble vocal cords, in their last gasps, as it were, are still doing the service. It fills my mind with amazement, wonder, and gratitude to God. Really, I feel so grateful to God for my vocal cords, damaged as they are. And I make a mention of this in order to appeal to your generosity, your charity. Please bear with me. My limitations are quite considerable. But rather than be beaten by them, I would still like to do my mission, counting on your generosity that you will forgive me for these inadequacies and these vexum zonal distortions. Okay, now how am I to explain to you the difference between these two characters so that we understand the meaning of the tremor that I felt, and I'm sure many others felt, seeing the two hands come into contact? Now, if you don't mind, let me use an episode from the Bible. Now, I don't invoke this episode because I want to throw the Bible at you. You know, I'm not that kind of a person. But illustration should be welcome no matter from which quarter it comes. I sometimes use illustrations from Hindu scriptures, illustrations from Russian literature, from German philosophy, from French sociology, from Greek mythology, so on and so forth. As Mahatma Gandhi said, let good ideas come to us through 1,000 windows. And as Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, if you have to go to China to gain wisdom, so be it. Don't worry about from where, but get wisdom by all means. These things have always inspired me. Now, in the Bible, in the New Testament, that is especially the Gospel of Matthew and the Gospel of Luke, the other two Gospels don't mention this. We have the temptations of Jesus at the hands of Satan. Satan tempts Jesus. And one of the temptations is to take Jesus to the top of a mountain. There Satan shows him the nations of the world and their glories and their riches, and tells Jesus to bow down or fall down and worship him, in exchange for which Satan would give to Jesus this whole wealth, all the nations of the world, their wealth and their glories. Of course, Jesus doesn't fall into the trap, and that's not particularly relevant to us. What is relevant is this. Why does Satan take Jesus to the top of the mountain? Why couldn't this temptation have been carried out standing somewhere low down in the valley? Why not in the valley, and why only on the mountain top? That is something we need to understand. Now, the point is this. The mountain top symbolizes power. You know that the powerful of the world always think that they are high up there and ordinary people are low down there. This height, high and low, that's precisely what it is. Those who are in seats of power are very high. Those who have no power are very low. So people like us are very low. So we have to look up to them like this. My bap, right? High and low. But when you stand there on the mountain top, what is it that you see? You don't see human beings. You see your own glory expanding and filling the whole of the known world. That's the problem of the mountaintop. The mountaintop, of course, has two completely different associations. In the Indian context, the mountaintop has a completely different meaning, namely, it's a place of serene meditation. So ancient seers of India used to go to the mountaintops, go to the Himalayas, far distant from the, as Hardy would say, far from the madding crowd's ignoble strife. Far from the madding crowd's ignoble strife. So that in a state of serenity, you are able to contemplate on eternal and profound realities. But there is another mountaintop, not the mountaintop of meditation, but the mountaintop of raw power. When a person goes to that mountaintop, his personality is different, his perspectives are different, his outlook is different. And he stands there and looks at the whole world, and he sees nothing but himself filling the whole world. He expands and he expands, he expands. So it's a limitless expansion of the ego and the megalomania of the person at the top. That's this mountaintop. And that's a mountaintop that Satan showed to Jesus. And it's on that mountain that Jesus is required to fall down and worship Satan. Look at the symbolic connections, very fascinating. You don't have to be a Christian, you don't have to be a believer to understand the beauty of these symbolic nuances. Now, from the mountaintop, Jesus sees not the world, he sees the valley down below. Because in the valley, there are human beings, there are realities. The ordinary people live in the valley. The mountaintop is for the powerful, the high, the exalted, the rich, the corporate captains, the culture heroes, political bigwigs, so on and so forth. But valley denotes the condition of people like us. Now the question is, what would be the priority of the ruler or the man in charge? Would he like to position himself on the mountaintop, beyond the reach of common man, so that his image may be exalted and inflated, that he can fill the whole world, and the whole world can look at him and have some kind of political, psychological, cultural consummation? Or would he go down to the valley where people live and identify himself with the lived realities of the world? That's a question. So, the contrast that I saw, it's because of this that I felt this tremor within me. When the two hands met, the hands of Narendra Modi and Rahul Gandhi, the two images that came to my mind is the mountaintop meeting with the valley. Modi stands on the mountaintop, the pinnacle of achievement, power, prestige, visibility, international fame. Thousands are prostrating themselves before him. He is the de facto God of India. Namo, Namo, Namo. I'm just describing the facts. I'm not adding anything, subtracting anything. Whereas you look at Rahul Gandhi, he's all the time moving around, interacting with the people, connecting to their lived realities, sharing their sorrows, their lighter moments, their hopes, aspirations, their frustrations, their fears, their agonies, their helplessness. He's the man of the valley. So it's a man of the mountaintop shaking hands with the man of the valley. Two completely different order of reality. It was this that made my heart experience that tremor, that earth shake, when that shake of hands took place. When they shook hands, it was not their hands that were shaking, but my heart was shaking. I don't know if you experienced the power of it to the extent I did. Maybe you did, maybe you did not. But I thought it was worthwhile for me to share this with you. And this pattern is not confined to politics. It's operative in the domain of religion, for example. The so-called religious bigwigs are right on top of the mountain. They look down upon everyone and they see that they're all sinners and wretched people. They are next to gods and they can sort of forgive others' sins. They can preside over their destiny, not just in the present as politicians do. They can also decide their destiny for the world or life to come, which politicians can't do. So a petty bishop is 1,000 times more important than a mighty prime minister like Modi, because Modi's power begins and ends here, but the power of a puny bishop extends right up to the heavens. Can you believe it? Small wonder they give themselves airs, no? So, next time you shake the hand of a bishop, please be careful. I'm sure not many of you have had the rare privilege and the matchless honor of shaking hands with the bishop, much less an archbishop or a cardinal or a pope. It's possible to shake hands with the pope, but not with some of these local petty bishops who think end of themselves. Anyway, that's not my immediate concern. So it's one of the most unforgettable moments, and I want to thank Narendra Modi and Rahul Gandhi for providing this visual which made me think for hours and hours and hours. That's why I've taken this while to come to you with my understanding of it. The question, of course, is which model, the mountaintop model or the valley model that Rahul espouses, which model is more conducive to the welfare of the people? In the long run, which model will prevail or should prevail? But historical realism tells me that the model of the mountaintop is the model that has prevailed all these many years. There is no culture, no civilization, no nation in history where this mountaintop model of exalted political authority, which made the incumbent of the office of these exalted officers, made them think that they are gods. Alexander the Great thought that he was the son of God and therefore God himself. And many other rulers actually succumbed to that delusion and, of course, paid dearly for it. And as Shakespeare's King Richard II says, a little time is allowed upon us to strut and fret are upon the stage. Then, of course, fate comes with its bodkin. Bodkin is a large needle, and it administers the pin prick and blah, it goes. The bubble bursts and nothing is left. See, a little time is allowed to us to monarchize, to strut and fret are upon the stage, to kill with looks. When we occupy positions of power, we think that we can kill people with our looks. They are that powerful, and then we go on doing all kinds of nonsense. And finally, at the right time, a little pinprick is administered, and it's gone. Khadam ho gaya. Tirnu, vedi tirnu. Finished. Or as they say in Arabic, kalas. Kalas. That's the reality. So it's very interesting. Now, all I want to submit to you is this. I'm not so much interested in X or Y, Rahul or Modi. I'm interested in thinking. I'm interested in going deeper and deeper into the realities of our life, the multifarious, inexhaustible facets of our life. And for example, simply or exclusively from the context of the two speeches, Rahul Gandhi's speech and Modi ji's speeches, I've already shared with you, I think, 7 or 8 videos. And I'm sure that in none of the videos have I repeated a single idea already expressed in the previous videos. And I can produce another 20 videos on these two speeches without repeating any of the ideas shared with you. So, because each of these speeches, each of these persons are huge windows on the realities that we live. Let me conclude this video by making a reference to one of my most favorite authors, Count Leo Tolstoy, where he says, what all of us need, he says, what an author needs is merely a lens through which to look at things. We need a lens. That lens is a perspective. Once we have that perspective, we can look at all these events and come to know of wonderful realities, wonderful things, profound things. We are surrounded by a whole world of ideas, insights, possibilities, suggestions, nuances, the very music of existence. But we should have ears to listen to it. We should have minds to engage with it. And I feel that the richness of life consists in this very discipline of staying engaged with the unfolding realities and to use each event as the Tolstoyan lens through which life itself can be seen. It's a beautiful experience. For me, this is a very banquet of life. Nothing compares with it. That's the reason why I'm never tired of it. I hope you're not tired. I hope I'm not tiring you. Please come into this active mode of active engagement with the realities amidst which we live. Otherwise, we become living dead bodies. It's no good. So, thank you for being part of this great celebration of life. So, that's precisely what it is. A temple of thoughts is nothing but a celebration of life. All the very best.